Okay guys, so before we get started putting everything on our rig, I've laid every single piece out so you can see how it looks, just to make sure we have everything. So we're going to start out with our motherboard. We will then go to our processor, which we have the two pieces for that. From there, we will go to our stick of memory. From there, we have our power supply unit with all the cables that we're going to need, and I'll walk through those as we move through them. Up here, you're going to see each graphic card. So for this particular situation, it was easier to put 4 of them on, but the process will be the same whether you're doing 4 or up to 12 on one particular motherboard. So this is what everything looks like, and this is where I'll be pulling from. And so we're going to transition now to assembly on the rack. Okay guys, so now the first piece we're going to install is going to be this motherboard. So when you have your rack done, if you get the one off of Amazon, you will know which part of the rack is the front based on the 2 plastic pieces that go on the front. So I'm not going to show you how to build the rack. This is pretty straightforward in their instructions. It's pretty easy. But once we have the motherboard, it does matter which way things go. So if you look right here, all of these pieces actually need to face me and go towards the front. Okay, so once the motherboard is placed on the rig, it will look just like this right here, just like that. So you're going to need a small Allen wrench that looks like this, and then inside the box there will be these little gold pieces that are going to create a space between the motherboard and the unit itself. So I'm going to scoot this off to the side, just like this. I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, but there are screw holes right here on the motherboard side, okay? Now, on the motherboard itself, we're actually going to be going in through, I'll show you, it's gonna come right here, through this, through this, through this, and then through this one. So there's 4 particular places we're going to be putting this in. So I'm going to install the gold pieces first. That is step number 1, is going to be to install those. So I'm installing the second one backwards. Let me put these down to make it easier. So right here, there's 2, and this is made for universal, I guess, motherboards. So sometimes you might have a different one, but we're gonna go in the back one because it fits better with the motherboard. And all you do is screw that thing in, just like that. And they'll give you more gold screws than what I actually use. And you know what, I just realized a mistake that I made. The one on the left is in the second one, the one on the right's in the first one. And the reason I knew that was because I looked at my motherboard, and you can tell right here, this one goes here, that one goes there. So now you can just put your thing down through here to see which one you're gonna be in. So right here, we're gonna be in this one that's at the front. So right here, so we'll put that one in next. And then we can look across our motherboard, and in all honesty, it's a pretty parallel line. So if you look right here, it's a parallel line. It's gonna go in the same one over here, which is the front one. So again, we'll put this on and screw it in just like this. Now, we're going to simply place our motherboard on top of this, lining up with the gold pieces, just like that. And they've given us 4 little screws that look like this, okay? So this will go right inside this little gold piece, just like this. Now, keep in mind, these chips can be a little sensitive, so whenever you're tightening it, get it snug, but don't try and force it because you could crack the motherboard, and that's the last thing you want to do. So now the next thing I'm going to put in is our RAM. So it is the little red piece that goes right here. I'll grab that, and that's what we'll put in next. Okay guys, so this is our rip jaw, our memory, okay? This is what it looks like. So on one side, there's going to be a barcode. On the other side is going to be the words. Now, on our motherboard, you're going to see there are 2 pieces here that can hold this particular memory. So each one on my left, not sure which way you'll be looking at it, but on my left, you pull this little piece open and you collapse it in. So I'm just going to stick this in the back one. Now the way it goes in, the words go towards the back of the unit. So again, the front is where you have all this little intel, all this stuff's the front. This is the back, the words face that way. So now it just slides in, just like a little puzzle piece. Now, whenever you're pushing it down, you want to just hold the bottom of the motherboard and just press till you hear it click. Just like that on one side, on the other side. So on the very first unit I ever set up, I didn't click one side down. And when I went to turn it on to start mining, it was giving me errors, and it took me hours to figure out that it was just something that simple. But that right there is your memory, and that's the first piece that we're installing. So the next piece we're going to install is going to be our processor with the fan on top of it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Now, by the way, when you get this, it'll most likely be down, and it's under this screw. So this little piece slides out, you pull it back, you lift it up just like that right there, okay? So I'm gonna grab the piece real quick and we'll get it installed. This is the processor, and this is the one piece that you have to be very careful when handling. Okay, there are little grooves in here for you to grab it on the side, because you do not want to touch any of this. This can ruin the entire thing. So now, if you look on your piece, you're going to have a little black cover on top of this when you first get it, and there's going to be an arrow. And if you look right below it, there's a silver arrow right here. If we flip this thing over, if you notice on our CPU, there's an arrow right here. So this tells us what direction to put our processor in. So we're just going to sit this in just like that right there, okay? Now, the next step is we're going to push this down, make sure it goes under the screw, push it over and under just like that. Now comes our frostbite, okay? This is the stuff that I said you put just a little dab on it. I'll show you what this looks like. So we're just going to put a little dab of frostbite right in the middle of this thing right here. Just like that. So to give you a reference, like not even the size of a pinky. Okay, you're just gonna squeeze a little droplet just right here, just again, the size of a dime or even smaller than that, okay, right there. Now, after you have that drop on there, you're going to take this little fan that comes with your processor, and this is going to snap in, okay? So now, if you notice, there's 4 holes around your processor. So all you're going to do is set this on there, just like this, and then you have these little black pieces you're just going to push down until it clicks. Okay? Now, after you have that, you're going to take this little white piece, and by the way, I had the Intel facing. It doesn't really honestly goes in any direction. It's just a little fan, but this white piece will plug into these 4 prongs right here. Okay, and so they'll be right when your little processor piece flips up, it'll be right behind it. You make sure you're angled just right, and you slide it down just like that. So that's it, okay? And then for this, I usually just kind of hook it under here. Now, I had a situation where I was taking this off and I didn't know how to do it. So if for some reason you ever need to take this off, all you do is twist this, and then you can lift it up again. Okay, and then to put it back on, you just twist back, and so now it's locked in place. Again, it's really solid and on there. So that's step number 1 for the motherboard. We put this on, and we have our processor, and it looks just like this. So now, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to open our power supply unit, this Corsair RX 1000. And so I wanted to open this so you could get a feel for what goes inside this and just what you can expect, okay? Because this looks very simple to me. However, when you open this thing up, you are going to have more cords, if you are not a computer person, than you can ever imagine. Okay, so we're gonna start with the cords first. You're gonna take a cord out and you're gonna see something that says PCIe. So you'll want to put this in a pile. This one will say CPU. So this is a separate pile. This is the power cable. Okay, so we'll put this off to the side. Now this is what we call a SATA cable. Honestly, you're not going to use this cable, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm just showing it to you. This is what this looks like. So we'll set this one off to the side. Another PCIe cable, set it with our other one. And this is actually the SATA cable that we will use. So it has the long, thin line like this. So we're going to set these off to the side. Again, this is one we're not using. The 4 prongs we're not using. PCIe. Now there's one that's really thick, okay? Like you can see how thick this one is compared to the other ones. This is what's going to connect your motherboard to your power supply unit, is this cord. So this one's really important. So again, we'll set this one off to the side as well. Now, CPU cord, okay, another one of those. We're gonna set that right there. CPU, we're gonna set right here. Another one of the SATA cables, the long, just like this. So this is another one of these, and another one of these. So same thing. So SATA cables just like this. So now, I can guarantee you from this box, if you have never opened one of these, you did not see this coming, because the first time I opened it, I was like, what the hell is this? So now we're going to take out and by the way, they give you little zip ties. This is just to help you keep your cords organized. You don't have to use them, but that's what they're for. So now we're going to take this part out. Okay, so they're just protected with these little things. Okay, this one's taped on here just like this. All right, so we're going to open this. Just like this, I'll get this box out of the way so you have a chance to really see. Okay, so now we'll take this little piece off. Okay, so this will sit like this. The fan is going to go up top. Okay, now if you notice on the rack, if you buy it from Amazon, it sits just like this, and you will notice that there are little screw holes right here. Okay, now inside our zip ties, there's some little screws right here. This will sit on right here. There's one lower one and one higher one. The screws just go here to keep it from moving around. You don't need them in my opinion, but they're there. I actually don't use a rack like this. I built one, so I don't have the screws at all, but I'll show you that once we complete. But this will be the most common rig people build. So again, it will screw onto here. It'll just screw right in there. So now, we're going to go ahead and start hooking up our cables. So on the back of this, so it looks like this would be upside down. So if you look at this, all of these words are upside down. So when you flip it and you look at them, it would look like they are right side up now, which would make you think that it sits like this. Remember, it sits with the fan facing up. But for this purpose, I'm just going to set it like this so we can connect it. Cord number 1 is the motherboard power cord. Okay, so straighten this out as much as you can. Okay, so now on this power cord, there are two. There's one that has 2 pieces on the end and one that has 1. This one goes into the motherboard. This one goes into our power supply unit. Okay, if you notice, it will say motherboard on it, and that is where it will go in. So there's a little, if you look on here, there's a little bitty piece right here. That's going to go at the very top, on top of this where it clamps in. So we're gonna push this in just like this. It fits perfect, okay? And you're just gonna snap it in. Okay, same with the second piece. And you'll hear it, and you'll know it's snapped in because you can lift it up. Okay, I don't recommend doing this, but just so you know, that's how you know. It's all in. So now we're just gonna put this cord out of the way for a second. The next cord that we're going to do is going to be a, let's see here, let me pull our PCIEs. Okay, so these are going to connect our graphics card. This was very confusing for me. There's an 8, this is called 8-pin. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this looks like a 6-pin, but there's this dangly thing. Okay, so this thing actually turns around and it fits on here. Okay, you would then just connect it like this and we'll install it to the GPU. I will show you this in a second because this will go into the actual graphic card itself. But this is what it will look like when you're done. So we're just gonna let this dangle. Again, don't think too much of this. Here's an 8-pin. If you look on here, we have PCIe and CPU. Okay, I don't know the technical terms, but here's what I can tell you. This cord with 2 ends on it can power 1 graphic card. This cord can. If you have a CPU cord, it only has 1 8-pin and another 8-pin, so you have to have 2 of these to power a graphics card. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Like right now, this one is going to give us 1 graphic card. So we're going to plug this into the top right here. Again, under the PCIe CPU, plug in, we have 1 graphic card. Okay, we're gonna use these cords first, the PCIe's first. So now we have our second one here. Again, we have 2 on this at the end. So this is a good thing. Remember, it has to have the 8-pin. This is number 2. So this will power our second graphic card. Now, PCIe, this is number 3. And this one will power our third graphic card. So remember, we just keep going down. There's 6 slots here. Okay, so we're gonna power this one in. So this is graphic card number 3. But now, we're down to 3 CPU cables. What does that mean? It means that out of these 3 slots, we can only power 1 more GPU with these. Okay? So if we wanted to do an extra one, they have things called splitters, and I will put a link on the PDF for you, and I will show you in the end what a splitter looks like, but it's essentially something that connects to this end and gives you the two ends like this. It's a connector. But so right now we're just going to plug two of these in. I can actually just pull this off, I think. So don't let this be intimidating. It is super, super simple. So again, so far we've plugged in, this makes cord number 5. The double end goes on the graphic card. The smaller end goes into this. I didn't even realize they had that on this particular power supply unit. So it goes just like that, and then we're gonna plug one more in. And by the way, it does not matter what slot you plug these into. They will all work the same. It has absolutely no effect on it. Okay, so again, we open this last one. The bigger one goes to the graphic card. This goes to our power supply unit. Just like that, push down. Now we're all locked. So now this one will power a 4th graphics card. This cord right here is our SATA cable, okay? This will also connect to the graphic card, and it's pretty straightforward. This is going to plug right here where it says SATA, and we're just gonna plug this in, just like that. Now this one, each one of these can use a separate graphics card. So this particular port could actually do all 4 of them. I have never ran 4 on one because there's so many outlets. So I just plug in 2 and I run 2 on each one. Again, I'm sure you can run 4, but I don't know. So I'm just gonna plug our second one in. And now that gives us 2 for each cord. So now, this thing is ready for us to rock and roll. So I'm gonna get everything else out of the way, and we're going to start assembling our graphics cards, and we're almost done. Okay guys, one cord that I totally forgot to mention as we were installing this that I want to make sure is the final CPU cord. There's this final one, there was an extra one, okay? So this one plugs into our power supply unit, and then this cord actually plugs into our motherboard. So that was my fault completely. So they will all be plugged in. This will power 4 graphic cards and the motherboard. So now we have all of these cords together. I'm gonna just take them off and separate them, and then we're going to install this thing right now. So I have all of my cords out. So I'm going to set this thing forward, and I'm going to pull all of these that are powering graphic cards to the back. Okay, just like this to get them out of the way. Just like that. Then I'm gonna have this big one, and it's gonna come over just like this, and then I'm gonna push this thing through and sit it on here. Now, if you notice right here, there are screw holes that go inside these little U-shaped pieces on the plastic. That is where these little black screws that come inside the zip ties with your power supply unit, that's where they go. You just need a simple Phillips screwdriver. So just like that, you put it on here, and this just keeps it from moving, keeps it stable. Just like that, nothing crazy, just simple. Again, you're not gonna be carrying this thing around, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. I think on the first one, we overdid everything, and then we realized they never moved, so just like this. So now it's a lot more stable, and it's not going anywhere. Don't even need the extra 2 screws. They're up here. I'm not even really sure what you could put them into. Maybe it was a different setup, but this particular rack, you only need the 2 of them just like that right there. So I'm going to discard these. So first steps first, we're going to connect our power supply unit to our motherboard. So I'm actually going to turn the entire rack around to make this easier for you to see. Okay, and we're doing this without cutting. We might have some focusing issues because we want you to know just how easy it actually is, okay? So now guys, this big cord looks like this. On our motherboard, if you want to zoom in right here, we have this black piece right here, and this is where this is going to go in. Now, the way you know which way this goes is on the back, there's a lip, and that's what this little piece connects to. So you would just bend this cord just like this, slide it in there, let's see, just like that. And then you want to hold from the bottom and just press down, just kind of nudge it in there until it's connected, and then it looks just like that, okay? So that's how this goes in. So that's piece number 1, okay? Now, the next thing is we're going to take one of our CPU cables, and I'm going to take one that's the closest over here, just the easiest to get to make this easy for me. We're going to come through here, Again, this would be stable if you were screwing it in. And this is going to connect right here. So if you're looking at this from the back, we have our RAM here. We have our processor with the fan. Then right here, which is the front of the computer, okay, this is where we're going to plug in stuff. This right here is where our computer cord goes. It says CPU. It looks just like this. It goes right here. Plug this in, just like that. I'm going to turn this back around. Well, actually, I tell you what. We'll keep it this way to make it easier for you. We're going to pull out our very first graphics card. So when we have our graphics card, we're going to open it up. And this will be something for those of you that are new to this, unlike anything you've ever seen, okay? I had no idea what this would be when I first got it. So now, you're just going to pop this thing open, just like this. Be delicate, obviously this is the holy grail of all of it. So we'll flip this over. I'm going to toss this out of the way for right now. This has protective things all over it, okay? These fans are going to spin, obviously. Down here, there's a little rubber piece. It comes off. Up here, there's a little rubber piece. It comes off. Little protection. This comes off. Okay, on the edge where the fan is at, you'll see that this part right here, okay, just like this. This will peel. All the way here, all the way here, and now this will be off, okay? It looks just like this right here. To show you how this is going to work, now keep in mind, this is the back of our rig. So this is actually going to sit just like this. So there's a lip right here on the front, and that is going to sit on the lip of this, okay? You'll see that there are screw holes and little things right there. We're just going to set this in there, and it sits up right back here, and it goes on, and it will look just like that. Okay, that is all it's going to look like. Now, before we install this, we have to get a piece that connects this to our motherboard. Okay, and that is called a riser cable. So I'm going to set this right here, and I'm going to pull this into view so you can see everything of how this looks. And I'm going to give you all the pieces that it will come with. This is what it will look like when you get it. So again, I'm going to scoot this out of the way for a second so I can show you exactly what you're going to get. You're going to have 4 pieces if you get the right riser cable. So you're going to have this. This little piece right here starts out. Here is our riser cable. Okay? So obviously, you see how this will not go into here. They're the same. This is going to connect to the computer. So you will start out with this blue cable just like this. So on our riser cable at the back, and then right here, it goes in just like that. Okay, now you have the SATA cable. So this right here is going to plug in right there. Okay, and you want to make sure it's all the way in so it goes down just like that. Okay, that's what this will look like. Now, on the end of this blue cord, we're going to plug this thing in. Just like this. Looks just like this. So now that we have this assembled, we're going to attach this to our graphics card. If you look right here, guys, this little piece will go backwards and forwards. Okay, just like that. So whenever we have this on, this little piece is going to hook. If you can see this little hook right here, it's going to hook on top of this to keep it in place. The rest of this, the little small part and the big part, are going to go right here. So you're going to put it on with this open completely. Just like this, you're just going to push it on. You have to apply a little bit of pressure. Once you have it on, turn it like this. Slide that in place just like that. Okay, it sits just like this. This is not complicated. Okay guys, so now we're bringing our first graphic card over for installation. On the front of your graphics card, you'll know it's the front because there's going to be a little lip that looks like this right here on the front of it. So this will actually sit on your unit. Oh, by the way, these cords must stay inside the 2. They don't go over this because then it would sit on the cord. They go under this and then it sits right here. So you will see that there are 2 screw holes right here and then these cords go under it. Okay, so step number 1 is going to be to screw this in. So let me grab my little Allen wrench and I will screw this in. Okay, so again, it's the same screws that you used to screw in your motherboard, same little tool. And just to expedite this process, I'm only going to put 1 in each, but there's 2 of them if you feel the need to put them in there. I'll just put these down for right now, and we'll get back to those. So now that we have this screwed in place, okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is connect it to our motherboard. So this is the slot that it goes in. So you'll notice it will actually go, you can see when you look at it, one piece is smaller, one is larger. Inside this, one is smaller, one is larger. You do not need to keep spaces among these, but just avoid this space. You can use it, but just avoid it and just do the other 12. So if you're doing 12 of them. So for me, I start on the far right, and then to insert my riser cable and actually connect my GPU to my motherboard, you just insert the slot just like this, just like that right there. It literally just kind of pops in. It can be pulled out super easy. It feels like it may not be in, but that's it. That's all you do. So now the next thing is we have this little yellow cable called our SATA cable, okay? If you look on it, it says SATA power. So then from down here, we're just going to pull up a SATA cord, okay? And remember I said it's this little cord that has 3 pieces on it, just like this. This will connect to any of the 3 pieces, and it doesn't matter which one it is. So you might have to apply a little bit of force to get it in, but it goes in just like that. And now this power supply unit is now, it's connected. So now we have to power it. So if you notice on the top of our power supply unit, we have 2 8-pin sections here. So we have 2 options for powering this graphics card with this power supply unit. So we have one cord that's a VGA cable. Okay, this VGA cable is the 6-pin that has the 2 that separates. So we can take this and connect it and then plug this thing in just like this. Let me show you. Just like that. That's one of them. Then we would need a second cord to plug into the second slot. There is a fix for this to help you get more power out of your power supply unit for multiple GPUs. Instead of getting 2 out of your 4 cables, we can get 4. So that is this cord right here. Let me grab it. It's called a splitter cable. Okay, it looks like this, and your VGA cable will now just plug into this, just like that, and now this becomes 2 pieces of power that we plug in. So now this one will efficiently and correctly power this one with 1 cable, just like that. So now this graphic card is hooked up and ready to go. All it's waiting for us to do is install some friends, turn it on, and get it mining. So I'm going to go ahead and install the other 3. I'll do it in fast motion so you can watch it, but I'll put one here and one here and one here, and you'll be able to see how it works. Okay guys, so there you have it. This is exactly how you would set up 4 graphic cards on this unit, and then again you can do the same thing with the other 4, just like this. Okay, we were able to power all 4 of them from one power supply unit. There's one piece that is not connected yet to the motherboard that will be the last piece that we do, and that is going to be our SSD, or our solid state drive. So inside your motherboard box, you're going to have a cable that looks like this. But what this cable does is it connects our SSD. Now, you're going to notice this is a Kingston. This is the one that I ended up recommending. We found that it works perfect. It's even cheaper than the other one, so definitely go with this one. We have two places we have to connect this. Now, we have not flashed our software on here, so this will be done after you assemble everything. You will get everything set up. We will put the software on this. Then you will go back and you will install this. But right now I'm going to show you where it goes and how it goes in. So on the little piece here, we're just going to install our little, it just literally snaps in just like this. Okay, now, if you look at our rig, this is the front of our rig right here where the graphic cards are screwed in. We're going to go on the back, down below it, there's these 2 little pieces in the back on the right-hand side closest to your power supply unit. So this will actually come down here, and you can set this under your rig. I put tape on the bottom of mine so they just stay still, like 2-sided tape. Another thing that happened to me when I first started, I had this plugged in and I was like, okay, perfect, I'm good. I turn it on and I cannot figure out why it will not mine. There is another connector here. So the same thing that connects your riser cables, this little yellow cord, to the SATA cable. This thing right here, one of these also has to go on this thing just like this. So flip it over just like this, slides on just like that. Then you can just slide this under your rig and just get it out of your way. That's all you'll need to do. But remember, that step has to be taken after we flash the software, which we're going to do right now.